Accessing library computer data.
And to make sure history never forgets the name Enterprise.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Pensky File. We're here continuing our Let's Watch of Star Trek The Next Generation. We're up to episode 25 of season 1. This one is called Conspiracy. It is the second part, finishing episode that continues the storyline of, what the hell was it? It was Coming of Age. This one aired way back in May 9th, 1988. It was directed by Cliff Bole. Teleplay credit goes to Tracy Torme, and story credit goes to Robert Sabaroff. So with this one, Modi Operandus is going to be joining us for this episode, which, as I said before, finishes the conspiracy storyline that started in Coming of Age. After meeting with fellow captains, the strange behavior of high-ranking officials at Starfleet Command leads Jean-Luc Picard and the crew of the Enterprise to uncover a conspiracy of senior officers who are possessed by parasitical aliens that are preparing to invade the Federation. Cool, so right after this break, Modi and I are going to pick it up. Thanks.
Captain's personal log supplemental. While it is quite unusual for a starship to return to Earth, we seem to be left with no other choice. I have apprised the remaining bridge crew of our situation.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pensky File, and we are about to get our talk on, me and Modi Operandus, talking about Conspiracy, the 25th episode of Season 1 Star Trek. I apologize if you guys hear some work going on in the background for this one, but I will do my best to get rid of it in post. So, Modi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I just I got up nice and early to watch this episode to prep myself for it.
Oh, did this morning still?
Yep.
Wow.
Did you watch it last night or something, or recently?
Yeah, I watched it last night.
Last night. What'd you think?
I don't know. It seemed like the concept did not fully. It wasn't very TNG episode. I think it was very action packed. A lot of shoot first, ask questions later at the end.
Yep.
And it didn't feel very TNG-ish.
No, it didn't feel
most of the time there.
I think
it was action packed for sure, and I had to cover my kid's eyes at the end of the thing. But aside from that,
it's absolutely true. It's like I was thinking as I was watching this one. I think that we might have differing opinions. You sound a little bit more hesitant. I think this is my favorite episode of the first season.
Really,
and it has nothing to do with Next Generation, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have this opinion until I watched it this recent time. This would have been a great Next Generation movie plot.
Yeah, that would work.
I don't know if it really works in context of the show, but if you had done this instead of like Insurrection or something,
sure.
It's actually it's a real movie plot. It's kind of a big idea.
It is. It's a broad thing for sure.
And it has like a lot of implications. It's like a very, the ship against the world, basically, because you always have to up the antes in the movies.
Yes.
Yeah. And instead of doing something stupid like the Insurrection plot, if you actually had an alien try to take over Starfleet like this, it would, I thought it might have actually worked. I do enjoy the episode for what it is. I think it's probably my favorite, even though that's probably more an implication of the quality of the other episodes.
Probably.
Where I'm
watching season 7 right now, so I'm like, okay, this is really, really good, and it's coming back most of the time. There's still a lot of missteps in season 7 even, but
I think we obviously haven't got there yet, but I think season 7 is a step back for the show. Like, I don't think season 7 is that great. It has a lot of really good episodes, but it has a lot of it has like that mask episode with Data.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Which I was reading about that one, and we'll get to that. That'll be a good one for me to be on, I think. I have some thoughts.
Absolutely. Look forward to that in 20 years. But this will be your final episode of the first season. So if you want to give, you've watched 4, I think, with me. Do you have any sort of overall thoughts of the first season in general?
I think that my overall experience on the podcast is similar to the experience of watching the show, in that I got one good episode out of the 4 I watched.
Yeah. Which one was?
Well, maybe if we count this one, maybe 2. This is kind of middle of the road for me.
Oh, right. You liked,
like you said, it's not a good Star Trek episode, but it's a good, like, if it's a cinematic plot. Yeah, if you look at it that way, it's a good idea. It's a good episode.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe it's just because I've watched so many of them, but it's like this was one show where I wasn't looking at the clock, being like, how much longer is this thing going to be going on for?
Yeah. No, there wasn't any of that for sure in this episode.
So you liked was it Coming of Age? I always confused Coming of Age and Code of Honor. You watched Coming of Age.
Yes.
Okay.
Watched Justice, Coming of Age,
Conspiracy. What the hell was
Conspiracy Here Now?
Yeah, there was one after Justice. 11001101.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
So let's get
Not much to say about any of those. Yeah.
No, there's not. I think 100 whatever the fuck it is kind of overrated. But anyway, let's get into Conspiracy.
Why hasn't anyone discovered this before? The orders were given with great subtlety. To use an aphorism, Starfleet's left hand did not know what its right hand was doing.
So this is, as we were saying, it is definitely the most like cinematic and big episode that we've seen so far. It has to tie into the previous show that you watched. That was Coming of Age. Yeah, Coming of Age. Which,
yes.
The B plot of Coming of Age ties into this one, and this is the conclusion to that, where an alien race has overtaken Starfleet, and some of the senior officers in the Enterprise is drawn back to Earth to try to deal with it, and how they handle this alien invasion. And I think besides my movie thought, well, it kind of ties into movie thought. This is such a like Cronenberg horror movie episode of a show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of puppet work.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of
bad animation at times, stop motion animation.
Stop motion of the little aliens running around. This might be. I'm pretty sure this is the only episode of Star Trek where a dude's head explodes.
Pretty sure
on camera.
Pretty sure.
Which is a drastic thing, but it's the reintroduces Remick and Quinn, who are in Coming of Age.
Yes.
They come back, and so what's your general? Let's start with the plot. What did you think of the plot for this one?
The plot is, as you said, it's very broad. It has a big idea centered around it, and like you said, it would work very well as a movie. Just I don't like the resolution of the whole thing. I think it's very open ended. First of all, they never revisit this after this episode.
No, and it's a weird thing knowing with hindsight that they'll never come back, because it ends with they sent a message to their home world, and it's like
cliffhanger.
Yeah, what
that's never going to come anything. They must not have got there. They must not have been. It hit the voicemail. They accidentally deleted it probably.
However these things can actually receive subspace beacons if they're just little aliens. But I
thought the concept of this was very, very cool though.
Yeah,
I like you said, the idea of a parasite taking over, and the way they talk about how the conspiracy works, and how if you don't know about a conspiracy, it's probably true, and that kind of thing.
Right.
I kind of like that whole plot there. Especially I liked when the turn of events with Riker pretending to be with them, and knowing, like, when I first watched this, I was like, okay, he's part of them now. But now that I know how it all resolves, having that hindsight on it and seeing how he is tipping his hand a little bit to Picard as he goes here.
Yep.
I was able to pick up on that a little bit more. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, once you realize that Riker is not a part of it, you're like, ooh, Riker.
This is very cool, yeah.
And also, like, tone it down a little bit. You're selling this alien takeover.
You're supposed to be a good poker player here, apparently. You're very not right now.
They're calling him. I guess you could also look at it. He does a pretty good job, because the other alien admirals, they're very. They sort of. I was noticing they involve Riker in it a lot. They're like Riker. They call him brother. They're like, don't you remember when we did this? And he's like, he plays along pretty well. He's like, yes, I do remember that.
He does the exact same thing they were doing to everyone else.
Yep.
With the, and I was picking up on that too. But this time watching it for a second viewing here, and like when Quinn is pretending to remember stuff about Picard is actually giving him all the information, and Quinn's just like sending it back to him.
Yeah, it's
doesn't actually know anything about what they talked about. Yeah,
it's a similar idea. It happened in this is like more advanced in the Arsenal of Freedom, which I just watched. They have a friend of Riker's show up on the planet, but it's not really him. And, Riker realizes it's not him because he doesn't know anything that the real guy would know.
I remember.
Yep.
I remember, and I listened to that episode too.
Yeah,
so,
the good ship lollipop, whatever. But
yes, that one.
It's the same idea here, where, which I think is kind of a weakness of the conspiracy. I think the conspiracy thing is cool. I think this show has a couple plot things that don't really make sense. Although I think I can rationalize myself into them making sense. I think the biggest plot hole in this episode is when Quinn is on the ship, when Picard beams down to the planet and he's with Riker, and he attacks Riker, which I can kind of be okay with if he's trying to put the alien in him. You know, maybe you knock him out and you put it in.
Ready for your tour, Admiral?
Quite ready, Commander.
What's in the case?
Actually, I brought it for Dr. Crusher. But perhaps you would like to see it first.
What is it?
A form of life. It was discovered accidentally by a survey team on an uncharted planet.
Why haven't we heard anything about that?
Well, we'll be hearing about it shortly. But first, there remains much scientific study to be done. After all, it is a superior form of life.
Superior?
Totally. Come, have a look.
I think I'll summon my science officer.
It won't like your science officer. It does like you. Vitamins. They do wonders for the body.
Why does he attack Geordi and Worf when they come into the
I don't know.
the room with him?
That was a little odd. That fight scene was actually one of the most fun, I think, in the episode. The kicks, the gigantic kicks from both Riker and Quinn was amazing.
I love they didn't shoot it very well, but just like you assume Riker does like a jumping kick to the face.
Yeah, it's a forward kick. Yeah,
it was
somehow he hits him in the face.
It was really, really good. Yeah, the fight scenes are they're a mix of like a pretty cool idea and then like coupled with a sort of bad, like how many times
like slapstick
can you throw a guy over a table? Like he throws everybody over the table. And
he does the exact same thing he does to Worf. He does the exact same thing he does to Riker without the kicks. And Riker put up a better fight than Worf did.
He did,
I would say.
Which is
typical, actually, I think, for the series.
Yeah. Worf talks a big game, and then it ultimately doesn't go down. But he
never delivers.
Geordi gets thrown through a metal door, which shatters.
Yeah.
And then when the fight's over, he gets up and goes, "Woo!" he says, "If I could see, I'd be seeing stars." And it's like,
oh, that line was so bad,
dude. You got thrown through a door, which shattered on impact.
No quips here, buddy. Seriously, are you okay?
I just like this. Woo! Geordi's done a lot of little like yelps of excitement in this first season. So
it's all he's got.
I think that's my big plot thing. I don't understand why, this conspiracy is obviously very subtly taken over Starfleet. Like no one has really been paying attention to this. So I don't understand why at this final stage he just sort of goes crazy and starts attacking people.
That's true. They played it really cold the whole time, and now all of a sudden he's just like out there, like anybody, even if had he done these tactics before, like on other ships or something like that, it would have been figured out right away, I think.
Right, exactly.
You can't control all the, you can't explain the door getting knocked down. Like, how you can explain that?
You can't just come on and start attacking people and then get off the ship and be like, oh, that's fine. And again, I mean, I think it makes sense. You could get away with doing Riker, like if you have to knock him out to implant him or something.
Right, one person, and you can explain it. Oh, he attacked me all of a sudden or something like that. I don't know.
Or he I guess he did call in, so you have to just be like, oh, he attacked me. I don't know what's wrong. They'd be a little suspicious.
Oh, no, it was somebody else. That kind of thing. Yeah, he ran away. Let's go after him. Kind of thing. Yeah.
And I don't understand why security team is Worf and Geordi that runs in there.
It's true. Why is Geordi in there?
All the way from the bridge, apparently. I think,
and Crusher too. Eventually too.
Oh yeah, with a phaser, armed with a phaser. Well, I guess security. Yeah, she'd need to be there, or maybe she took Geordi's as he was passed out on the floor.
Oh, that could be. That makes sense.
Outside of that, I thought that my only other minor thing would be where the the final captain, the black female captain at the end. Yeah, I think you can sort of rationalize her being there in the beginning. She was supposed to be the one that set up Picard, that called him, all the other captains together to that planet. Right. It seems a little strange to me that since they were so picky with Picard, I didn't really understand how she would have sort of made it through.
She passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess she seemed like the least known to everyone.
I think that might be it, because if you don't really know the person, it seems much more difficult to figure out that they're not who they claim to be.
And just to comment on that scene with the meeting on the planet with the four captains there, like all three of those captains are pretty interesting. At least two of those captains are pretty interesting compared to it's like I want to follow those ships now instead.
I know.
Can we go follow with the black female captain and the weird alien captain? I want to go follow those ships now.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that you hardly ever see a captain that's not a human. So it was strange to see. Yeah, it's like, that actually makes sense that they would have all these different aliens out there.
Give him his own series. I want to see what happens with that guy.
And unfortunately, the Horatio does not make it to the end, but the other two ships, they should have.
Yes.
Let's see here. So, I mean, What'd you think of the overall conspiracy idea?
The overall conspiracy idea, I think, like I said, I think they played it okay. I liked how it was this subtle, slowly taking over through parasites. And it seems like the way that he calls him brother and that kind of thing, each parasite is its own person kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, except
but
for the queen alien at the end.
And then so Remick was presumably already a parasite guy back when he was investigating the Enterprise last episode in Coming of Age, right?
I was thinking about this, and I don't think he was. I think it makes more sense if he was not infected.
You think so?
Just because,
but if he's the queen, if he got infected by the queen, then
that's true. He has to give birth.
Quinn's suspicions would have to be founded on something. So the queen's got to be somebody else for the moment, then.
Huh? That's a good point. My argument against it would be, so I guess I would have to say if Remick in Coming of Age is infected, I think that Quinn has to be infected at that point as well.
Yeah, but then that doesn't make sense. That's true, because Quinn wouldn't be trying to tell anybody else about the conspiracy if he was already infected.
Exactly, and would the Queen Remick allow that to happen? I mean, I figure, I just can't see.
Well, he was trying to get on the Enterprise because at the end, Remick was like, "Oh, after my tour is over, I want to join up with the Enterprise."
That's
kind
true.
of thing. Like he might be trying to position himself to get into a position of authority someplace.
Yeah, somewhere else. That's true. It's certainly up in the air. It's because Quinn is acting normally, quote unquote, in Coming of Age, so there's nothing suspicious there.
Right.
This guy, it is kind of upsetting that he is the queen. It's one of those things, and I almost feel like the storyline could have done with a third part. Like if the season finale had been the conclusion to the storyline, I think that would have been helpful. I feel like they could have stretched this out a little bit.
Well, at the end they don't try to understand the parasites at all. They just kind of shoot.
They do.
That's not the way that they usually do things. They're like, you spent like half an hour talking to a black evil slime 2 episodes ago.
That's right.
You're not going to ask this parasite that's actually interesting and wants to telling you it wants peace, even though it's taking over everything.
That's true. Right before he killed it, it's just like, I just want to coexist with you people, and they're like, well, fuck you, and they shoot it.
They shoot him in the face.
Whereas a black puddle of goo kills somebody immediately, and they're like, listen,
let's talk to this thing for half an hour.
Yeah, I understand you're angry, but you got to calm down a little bit.
You don't understand. We mean you no harm. We seek peaceful coexistence.
It's a good point. What'd you think of the guest acting in this one?
I don't know. Remick was good, I think. As the queen briefly in there.
Yep.
I don't know. Quinn was weird. I mean, it's hard to judge the guest acting when the acting in the main cast is often bad. Like Crusher was terrible.
It's true.
In this episode, like her scene trying to explain the thing to the planet below, she was tired or something. I don't know what was her problem. But,
it's
it was poorly acted. I'm like, man, she gets better. McFadden gets better as an actress later on, but
she does.
It's bad here.
She doesn't really have a lot to do. The most she had to do in this one is symbiosis, which is really just her sort of being a foil to Picard more than anything. I thought that all the guest captains were pretty bad.
Oh, those. I think the alien guy was not too bad.
Yeah, and my second point to that would be if you have a guest actor who's not very good, I suggest making them an alien.
Yeah,
because
it helps.
you just assume that sort of a stiff way of talking is kind of that's how those aliens talk.
Oh, that's his acting choice that he's making.
Right,
that's just not ability.
That's how these species are. But we're too familiar with humans. If you have a bad actor, you should make them.
You can identify a bad human. Yeah,
exactly.
It's easier.
I just thought the guest captains were not good. I thought that the Walker guy was just over the top.
He wasn't good.
And the black lady captain was super stiff. Rix or whatever her name was.
And there's the other 2 admirals or whatever they are.
One's a Vulcan, so he can just be the wooden thing.
He'd be exactly alien once again, so he's fine.
And the other guy who looked a little bit too similar to Quinn and was
a clone of Quinn.
When they were chasing at the end, I was so confused as to
which one are they shooting?
Yeah, who's shooting who? And also something about in a phaser fight down a long hallway, the phaser fire is so slow you can
It's
just
so slow. He dodged out of the way. Like, why doesn't everybody do that? I wrote that down.
It was so comically
Picard
slow.
dodges a phaser fire.
Just like, wow, this you have to be real up close and personal to hit these people with these things.
Yeah, I'd like to know like why phasers are so slow compared to like, and I want to see like a graph of the speed of weapons in sci-fi stuff. Like, which is the fastest shooting weapon? Which is the slowest laser?
Oh, I know.
That kind of
It'd be
thing.
along the lines. Have you ever seen the chart that's sort of like someone with a lot of time on their hands has like made all the spaceships across all sci-fi to scale, so you can like see how big
That's
they
awesome. Yeah,
are.
yeah.
It is pretty cool, and it's also like, wow, a lot of ships are a lot bigger than Starfleet ships. It's nice to get a little perspective, because I always feel when they do, I was upset in this one too. It's a budget thing, but they didn't show the other ships, and I always like it when they show the ships next to each other.
Well, the moment with the stop motion creature running up Remek's leg, I was like, okay, this is the point where they ran out of money. Apparently,
That's right. And when it
and identified in the episode.
I'm not afraid to say when it went into his mouth, I gagged a little bit. I was like, just that actor had to. He had to put a lot of that thing in his mouth,
man.
and I'm not
He
very.
did some work, yeah.
Like a plastic toy. They should have sold that thing as a toy, make a lot of money. And then the final chest burster alien.
Yeah,
which is fine. But
that's the point where we were watching it with my wife and my 3-year-old, and I was like, okay, cover his eyes, like, and then it was all over, and I was like, okay, that's over, and then they cut back to the burnt out chair, of like this the corpse sitting there, and he goes, oh no, like yeah, oh no,
and I like the nice touch of they sprinkled like dead little aliens around him at the very end, but they were all they were like red because they were cooked from the phaser fire, I think, instead of purple.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah.
Well, he's got to learn sometime. This is a cruel
he's gonna have some
world.
nightmares now, I think, from this episode. Hopefully he's not scarred for life. She has to learn about alien parasites sometime.
we all do. I mean, it's absurd. His head explodes at the end. They shoot him in the head.
Like seriously,
until it blows
a
up.
phaser never explodes anybody's head except for right now.
But it's a super Cronenberg type thing. Just a lot of stop motion puppetry, a lot of crazy things going on, and I like this episode. I think it holds up pretty well. If I were to show anybody who was unfamiliar with Star Trek and I was forced to do a first season one, I'd have a hard time coming up with a better show to pick.
Yeah, but it's not very exemplary of what the rest of the series is.
No,
I think.
it's totally not.
You're gonna show somebody this and they're gonna be like, okay, where is the heads exploding? Where's the shoot first, ask questions later? Why are they talking to this creature? Like that kind of thing.
That's true.
It's not very Enterprise-ish.
No, it is certainly out of Jean-Luc's sort of wheelhouse here as to what he's doing.
For sure.
We talked about the fight scene, which is hysterical. Looking at my notes.
There's a lot of things in this episode I noticed that they never do again. Obviously, the main parasite alien never comes up again.
Yep.
Also, there was a shot of a comm panel with video, which they never use again, I think.
Picard's
it's very,
room?
very rare. Yeah, in Picard's room.
Yeah, that's...
Riker contacts him by video on the thing.
Yeah, in your bedroom is a weird thing. You think you'd have to go out into the
she just
office.
pops up like, oh, you're changing. Sorry, buddy.
It was a great callback to I think in hindsight, my favorite scene from Encounter at Farpoint is when Riker shows up late, and to brief him, they show him a movie of everything that had happened previously in the episode, and it's like, who is filming this?
What?
Like, how is this happening?
It's the same shots we're seeing. Yeah, it's like, what are you doing?
It also takes much longer. It's like, can't I just read a report here instead of watching this movie?
Why am I watching a video?
Yeah, it's obviously the 1987 being enamored with technology and be like, look, they could play back exactly what happened. And now in 2015, everyone is going to freak out about the fact that you could be videotaped by anyone. Okay, so
right. I was thinking about the whole comm video thing, and I think they stopped using it because at some point Riker popped onto it while Picard was changing, and that's when they decided not to stop using that altogether around the ship. Yeah, that was the one rule.
And there's a lot of weird communication thing with this, where because when they show up to Earth and they talk to the admirals, and the admirals are like, "Give us a moment," and they go, "Okay," and they shut off. Worf is like saying he doesn't trust them, and for some reason they just pop back. Instead of just they're hailing us again, They for some reason like smash.
Just come back on.
Yeah, you can just force
That was
yourself
weird.
into the conversation, which was kind of a strange thing. Just a time saver, I suppose.
That is weird. Also, there was the scene, very small scene with Data reviewing files, and then has an argument with the computer,
which is.
And
I thought that was a great.
That never
joke.
happens. First of all, it was a great joke. I wanted to see more of this throughout the series of having Data and the computer kind of like fighting. Like I wanted to see more of that.
Startling. Quite extraordinary, in fact.
Direction unclear. Please repeat request.
That was not a request. I was simply talking to myself. A human idiosyncrasy, triggered by a fascination with a particular set of facts, or sometimes brought about by senility, or used as a means of weighing information before reaching a conclusion, or as
Thank you, sir. I comprehend. Please specify how you would like to proceed, sir.
Please continue with record scan.
It doesn't make any sense that the computer would not understand like exclamatory expressions like that. 'Cause everyone else does it. Everyone else that's human does it. Why would the computer think that him saying interesting was a command? All of a sudden the computer thinks Data's giving up commands. Okay,
it's true. It's one of my favorite things. Is one of my favorite sort of run. It's not even a joke. It's like when people tell the computer something and then they tell it something so vague and then get annoyed when the computer's like specify.
Yeah.
You know, Geordi, it always happens on the holodeck. Someone will go like, give me a nice place. And the computer's like, specify. There are a lot of nice places. And they get annoyed. They're like, Jesus, computer, like, like a beach. And then they go in. And it's a frequent thing that happens where they always get annoyed with the computer when they give it no information to tell them anything. And this is the opposite of Data, is because they went back to the joke of Data tells people too many examples of things. He did it with Riker early in the episode, and he does it with the computer, and the computer just tells him, this is...
that's enough.
That's enough. Yeah, I don't need this anymore.
I understand. Yeah. It was just very odd. I want to see more of that with Data. It's like Data trying to be human versus the computer not trying to be human kind of thing. They could have done more with that, I feel like.
No, it's absolutely true. And I don't know if you listened to past... I did 1 or 2 episodes ago. I was talking with Clay, I think, about how... we were sort of ranking the first season characters, and
yes,
Data. My problem with Data up until this episode is that he was not particularly. They weren't taking advantage of the fact that he's an android. They were really just using him as like a Wikipedia, where they're like, Data, tell me about this star, and he would tell them things. And I think this is the first show where his superhuman ability was actually used.
They give him a task that only an android could do, kind of thing. Yeah.
So Picard gives him all of the reports that have been filed to Starfleet in the past 6 months, and he has to, review them to find out any sort of pattern to things.
Yeah, because in later seasons, they just go, for like the Wikipedia stuff, they just go to the computer.
Yes.
They say, computer, do this, instead of asking Data to do it.
Yeah.
But,
because he is second in command, or third in command.
Exactly.
He shouldn't be just answering questions about things.
No, I don't have to answer the questions like this. You can look it up.
But I think that ties into why I like this show so much. I think all the characters have everyone's role makes sense in the show, except maybe Geordi, who is forced to be a security chief.
For right now, anyway.
But I mean...
until later, then he makes more sense, and he seems to fit well in the engineering.
Exactly. And it's, like in this show, Picard and Riker, go down to the planet to deal with it.
And that works nicely. Yeah, you're right. The first and second in command work well there together.
Yep. Troy gives a speech to Picard that makes sense. Right now. It makes sense in context of what's going on.
Troy looks at everything and says, I think they're lying, but I can't tell what they mean.
I don't understand.
I thank you for that. I can tell they're lying. Thank you.
Yeah, she's horribly...
it's like, take a drink every time she says that. Oh, they're hiding something. Seriously, come on. Everyone's hiding something.
It's all very secretive. Crusher has nothing here, but it's like, I just feel like this show in particular brought all of the roles into sort of focus, which is helpful, seeing that we're at the second to last episode of the series. But the first season struggled with that a lot. It didn't really know what people should be doing, and it would stick them into weird situations.
It's starting to figure it out. You can see the stages where it's starting to figure things out here.
Yes,
a little bit. With aside from Geordi being on security team, like they're starting to like find everybody's place within the show. I think.
Yeah, maybe this was the show. They were like, Geordi should really do something other then
He's like 5'2". Maybe we should have him on the security team.
maybe he could probably fit in the Jeffries tube real easy. Let's send him
exactly.
down to
Send him in a
engineering.
tube someplace where you don't see how short he is compared to everybody else.
It's wonderful. But yeah, I like the show a lot. Right? I think this. I'm going to stick to my guns and say this is my favorite episode. It might not be a great episode to start someone off on their Trek journey with, but
it's one you should watch.
It's
if somebody's like, this show's boring, you can show them this episode and say, hey, it's not. They go some cool places.
Yep.
Captain, I have attempted to trace the message Remick was sending. I believe it was aimed at an unexplored sector of our galaxy.
Any idea what the message was, Data?
I believe it was a beacon.
A beacon?
Yes, sir. A homing beacon. Sent from Earth.
Absolutely. So to wrap this up, we'll go with some real TV criticism. I'll tell you some things.
Okay.
You can let me know what you think. Keith
Okay.
DiCandido for Tor.com described the episode as a nasty episode that doesn't quite cohere into the level of nasty it could, but that the series, quote, doesn't do horror action all that often, and it served as a nice change of pace, if nothing else. I sort of agree with
Yeah.
that. That's sort of the
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's sort of the like the point of my high score, I think, for it.
Yeah.
He gave Conspiracy a 4 out of 10, so he's not particularly enamored with it. Zach Handlin reviewed it for the AV Club, and he thought that while Conspiracy was a hard episode to forget, it was not quite as good as he had remembered it being, and it did not quite fit with the rest of the season, which is also true. He thought that certain parts of the plot were idiotic, and the admirals reminded him of a Bond villain convention, which I definitely
it was
agree
very much that. Yes, I agree with that completely.
with. The
sure.
what'd you think of the food? Is that is
man,
that necessary, or is that just
Yeah, I don't know if that was necessary. I mean, it was, again, like they played the conspiracy so well before. Why are they like tipping their hand now, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like, just in case you guys don't like convince him to join you or get him on your side or something goes wrong, why are you eating maggots in front of him?
That's right. I thought the timing of taking it out was a strange choice. They do it
We're
very.
gonna choose this dinner moment to reveal our that we're not human, kind of thing.
Zach Allen gave the episode an overall grade of a B, saying, "Fingers crossed that the next time we encounter a danger this sinister, the writers will know how to handle it." I assume he's talking about the Borg.
Yeah, and they do.
And they do
for the most
handle
part,
it. Yeah. There's a lot of similarities, I think, here and there. And
Yeah.
I think I mentioned to you earlier, this was supposed to be the Borg.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Right, definitely. I was telling my wife that you mentioned that to me, and this, you could see that they're definitely trying to set this up as the big thing. That's why they don't like go after it or like ask questions of it.
Yep.
Because I feel like they haven't fully explored what they want this thing to be.
No, they seem
they
to
decided, we actually want this to be a robot race. Actually,
Yeah,
sorry.
It has the
We're
same
gonna
concept.
disregard all of this.
It has the same concept of it takes people over. You know, like you become
Yeah.
one of them.
But the conspiracy isn't hidden there. It's just like very overt. Like, do you look different and all that?
Yes,
So.
yes, and we'll have a lot to talk about when the Borg come back. Conspiracy was an honorable mention in the list of best episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation by Mike Antonucci of the San Jose Mercury News, which is interesting. It was included in a list of the best and worst episodes at Wired Magazine as one of the best, describing reaction to the episode as polarizing. Oh,
I
and
guess.
suggesting that Conspiracy might be worthy of becoming a plot in a future film. Interesting.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, again, you're the idea of this being a film plot. Just expand upon it, get a better resolution at the end of it.
Yes. And
Maybe you do go into like trying to reason with it, that kind of thing in a film, but I think they ran out of time here and they didn't quite know what they wanted it to be.
Well,
so they didn't get into all that reasoning with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, in the movies, I take a fire first, ask questions second as like acceptable. You know, that's just kind of what
exactly.
movies are supposed to do. That it's supposed to be just be, you know, a much more broad, much more action-packed take on what the crew would actually be doing. Which is ultimately why a lot of these Star Trek movies aren't that good. So, yeah, that's it. So, what do you think? Any final thoughts for how this one came about?
I don't know. I'd give it a 3.
Give it a 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a
3.
This is a 4.
3.5 maybe.
This is my only 4 of the season, and
Nice.
it's something. It is a unique episode. I don't think it would ever make a top 10 or anything for me, but I do enjoy watching it.
My biggest problem with it is that it doesn't have. It's got a lot of action. It's a very entertaining episode, but it just doesn't feel very Next Generation to me.
No, it doesn't.
I don't know. It's a very original series plot. Actually, now I'm thinking about it.
Yes, it sort
This
of
would work
is.
well there.
And
Yeah.
just how everything works out with it, it's absolutely true. Cool. Well, thank you very much, Modi. Do you have anything you want to plug?
Nope. Just my YouTube channel, and now I'm gonna go have a big bowl of maggots, I think.
Sounds good. I'll sprinkle some into my yogurt instead of granola, I think, today as my morning snack.
A little crunchier, yeah.
And why don't they use spoons or anything? Just
I don't know.
Know what they're interested in.
You can't get the good texture if you use spoons. You gotta get your hands on it.
Cool, dude. Well, thanks a lot, and you guys can check out Modi.
Thank you.
I'll put a link in the description of this video, and a little bit of house cleaning. Just if you're watching on YouTube, a like and a comment is much appreciated. If you're on iTunes, a review and a rating is also fantastic. And I'm going to be back with this season finale. The neutral zone. That'll be the episode.
You made it.
I did.
I really didn't think you'd make it all the way through this first season here. I was like, man, he should have jumped around maybe. It's a little tough to get through that first season, I think.
I'm watching, a lot of. I think what a lot of other podcasts do is they do multiple episodes in each podcast episode, which makes a lot of sense. Although I do like sort of going more deep than necessary on each show. But yeah, so I was looking at my YouTube upload thing, and it was just wow, this was 5 months ago where I started doing this. Time flies, and I am not making enough progress here. So my dedication to you will be I will do this much more regularly than I have been. I need to at least get 2 a week just to keep on pace. So if I don't do that, start yelling at me, everybody, and let me know. But I'm enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, Modi, and
no problem.
We will see you guys next time.